But about 30 miles east of this placid scene, things are anything but slow. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page. We're at National Trail Raceway for the Budweiser Spring Nationals drag races. And here is the crew for Darrell Gwynn, getting his top fuel dragster ready to meet Dick LaHaye in the semifinals. But first, there's more in second round funny car action. Up at the starting line, Tom Hoover versus Jim Head.
This man here in the far lane, Jim Head, definitely a hometown favorite as he will face Tom Hoover, who begins to back up now in the near lane. Second round action of funny car. Tom Hoover won the '79 Winter Nationals. It's been a long time since he's seen the victory lane. He faces Jim Head, and earlier Steve Evans looked at his new innovations.
Timing is everything in drag racing. There's elapsed time, there's reaction time, and in the case of engineer Jim Head's funny car, there's timers. Let me show you inside Jim's computer box. There they are, 10 relatively simple, inexpensive industrial timers. A little knob on each, they can time from 0 to 10 seconds. Now, one of those is connected to the lockup clutch so that it locks up a second and a half after the car leaves the starting line. Another is hooked to the transmission so that it shifts 4.5 seconds into the run. And others accomplish various aspects of the fuel system, things Jim no longer has to do from the cockpit so that he can concentrate on driving. All of these timers are activated when the throttle pedal is fully depressed and touches a little button, and the solenoids up front handle the actual functions of the timers. Now, there's a few other timers in the pits, but nobody's got 10 of them.
And if Jim gets them all right, he'll be able to just be a passenger, turn on the radio, and watch the scenery go by. For the moment, it's a matter of driving. That's Head in the far lane. Hoover in the near lane.
Be interesting to see who, if anybody, loses traction. It is Hoover in the near lane. Tom Hoover tried to stay with the car and started heading for the center line. He got off the pedal, and it's Jim Head with some rather ominous-looking engine smoke at the finish line of 592 at 242 miles per hour.
So while Jim Head will move forward in this round, the run was not particularly great for either driver. Ed McCulloch is now rolling out in his burnout as he is ready to face Billy Meyer. And the question is a matter of track surface. Neither lane appears to be particularly great, and the man that figures it out first is obviously going to move ahead.
They're not honking the horn.
Jim Head says they're not honking the horn. Well, your crew is not honking the horn because you didn't get lane choice. You ran in the 590s. But you've been so critical of this car, and here you go in the semifinals with it.
Well, I guess we're a little lucky, but it's running consistently, and hopefully, who do we have next round, you know? Hopefully they're not a whole lot faster. Yeah, I never watch a round ahead, but I think we've at least got the consistency back. We haven't got the ET, but we'll work on it.
And from what we've seen, lane choice doesn't, at this time, appear to be a big deal.
No, it's definitely a two-lane racetrack.
Thanks.
So Jim Head back to reset the timers and get ready to face D.A. Santucci in the semifinal round. But the battle at hand is McCulloch and Meyer.
Ed McCulloch races out of the Larry Minor Stables in San Jacinto, California. Has 8 NHRA national event wins to his credit. Did very well last season. Now he's up against Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas. Billy Meyer had to replace an engine between the first and the second round. So he's in a similar situation as Darrell Gwynn was in Top Fuel. He only hopes his will perform as well.
McCulloch on the far side, Meyer in the near lane. Both move up in stage. Both prepared for the quarter-mile challenge. This is the second round. Funny car elimination in the Budweiser Spring Nationals.
A hole shot by Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer is off the mark first. McCulloch pulls even in the mid-range at the far end. Oh, boy. The electronic finish line judge calls it Billy Meyer, 586, 250 miles per hour, the race of the day in funny car.
One incredibly fast race. Now, McCulloch actually ran quicker with a 581, but let's watch it one more time. Billy Meyer pulls out ahead and is leading McCulloch right off of the line. Then as Meyer pulls on the power, he is able to keep ahead of McCulloch all the way. The real advantage, though, the hole shot that he pulled as McCulloch closed the distance at the finish line, actually ran the quarter mile faster, but in eliminations, it's who gets there first.
Well, that victory belongs to the driver, Billy Meyer. You ran a little bit slower, but you're going to the semis anyway.
I needed one after the Cajun Nationals. I was 800s late, if you remember.
Well, he was exactly 800s off the pace you just set on the starting line, and the car ran dry and looks like he got something to work with.
Yeah, we threw the rods out on that first one, so that was a brand new motor, so it's nice at least to get a full run in to see where to start. Thank you.
So Billy Meyer now will wait to see who he'll face in the semifinal round. D.A. Santucci will face Jim Head. And this is the final pairing of the second round of Funny Car, as Don Prudhomme will face the reigning world champion Kenny Bernstein.
And Paul, Kenny Bernstein is the only funny car who has really figured out this racetrack. He ran a 5.69 in round number 1 to oust Johnny West. Bernstein, now racing out of Newport Beach, California, has won back-to-back NHRA World Championships. And that's something this man did 4 times some years back. Don the Snake Prudhomme, this is his first season back after a year's hiatus, the Pontiac car here in the near lane. And he is the only one to have beaten Bernstein this year. But Paul, look at the right bank on Kenny Bernstein's Buick-bodied automobile. That is big trouble. That's what the racers call death smoke.
But Dale Armstrong and his crew, watching that machine, they know something is terribly wrong in Bernstein's car. Bernstein, the only one who really seemed to have a handle on the lanes here at National Trail Raceway.
And this is so rare to see Kenny Bernstein have any kind of mechanical problem, starting line or finish line. Dale Armstrong with the headset on there, checking over that right bank. And I believe the roof hatch is open now. I really doubt that Armstrong is going to let his good friend and employer, Kenny Bernstein, go down the race. They shut it off. Kenny Bernstein sits idly while Don Prudhomme moves into the semifinals. Prudhomme now becomes the only man to beat Bernstein this year, and he has done it twice.
And Don Prudhomme still lays on the power. He's looking for lane choice, turning a 587, 246. As a most remarkable occurrence, Dale Armstrong and the crew picked the top up on Kenny Bernstein's car. A mechanical problem, not common for the Bernstein stable.
No, it is not. Here's how they shape up for the semifinals. Californian Prudhomme versus Texan Meyer. Meyer has the lane choice. In the other half of the semis, it will be hometown favorite Jim Head up against the surprise
At the Budweiser Springnationals. Back in the pit area, there's a lot of questions being asked now. Let's go to Steve Evans.
No one can remember the last time there was a serious problem with the engine in Kenny Bernstein's funny car, especially one serious enough to prevent the car from even staging. Dale Armstrong, crew chief, what caused all that smoke?
Well, Steve, an exhaust valve seat looks like that's what happened anyway. We're taking the head off now to see, but apparently an exhaust valve seat fell out of the head.
And shot right out of the header pipe?
Yeah, we're up there in the line, and it started smoking when he was backing up, and I really didn't know for sure what had happened, but when he came back there near the starting line, this valve seat come flying out of the pipe. So
what could have happened had you run the car in that condition?
Well, what happens with one of these things, when that shrapnel starts going around inside the motor, it'll pass from side to side under the blower. And if you try to run it, there's a real risk of those parts that are flying around in there getting under an intake valve seat. And if that happens, it'll blow the blower off or blow the body off. You know, you just can't run it when something like that happens.
No wind light is more important than the safety of that driver.
Oh, yeah. So it was never a thought of running it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, here's Kenny Bernstein. Kenny, here's a real good example of drag racing. Everything was so right, and then so quickly it's wrong.
Well, you know, Paul, it's been a great year at the start of this thing, and the Budweiser Quaker State Buick has been winning and having a good season. A mechanical thing comes up, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just part of the game. You're right.
What happened there on the line? What were you aware of as it was happening?
Well, the first thing was when I finished the dry burnout, the dry hop, the car went to a different pitch. It went high up on the idle. I first thought that the idle was stuck. I thought maybe it had hung on the injector a taste. But then I started watching blue smoke out the right pipe, and I kept seeing it get worse and worse and worse. As I backed up, I knew we had some mechanical problems going on. When I stopped, I whapped the throttle just to make sure that I didn't have a stuck throttle, which I knew I didn't by then. And of course, Dale and Jeff observed, and Dale made the decision to shut it off. It had a bad exhaust valve in it, and that's it.
Well, we sure hate to see you pull out like that, but we look forward to you in the future.
Well, I appreciate it. There's 1,000,001 ways to lose in any motorsport, and drag racing's no exception.
Well, you've seen quite a few of them. Let's hope not too many more.
I hope not. Thank you, Paul.
Well, Kenny Bernstein still leaves Columbus with a sizable points advantage towards what could be a third NHRA World Championship. Well, now it's time for what the fans call the factory hot rod. Pro stock, and this is round 2 action. These are 2,350-pound automobiles, gasoline in the tank, 4-barrel carburetors. In the far lane, the maroon and silver Oldsmobile Forenza heating up the tires. That is Gary Brown, a husky young driver out of Buford, Georgia, and he ousted Darrell Alderman in round number 1. He will be up against here in round number 2, a fine driver from Ventura, California, in a Chevrolet Camaro. That is Jerry Ekman. Now, the pro stockers, when they stage, the RPMs come up over 8,000. They sidestep the clutch, and they're away. There's a fire under Gary Brown's car.
A flash of sparks under Brown's machine as Ekman comes across the line. Jerry Ekman with a 767, 181 miles an hour. The fire under Brown's car apparently out.
And, Paul, it looked more like sparks really than fire. And it happened the instant he let the clutch out. Both cars, as you can see, left right together. Brown totally unaware of any problem. He just stayed foot mashed right down on the pedal. Now, it may have been, let's take a head-on look. Now, watch the car on the left. As soon as the clutch is released, a shower of sparks out of the bell housing. Possibly a clutch disc going away.
Terry Brown, certainly not the run you wanted. They said you were throwing a lot of sparks at the line. What were your problems?
I really don't know what that could be. You know, that's first report I've had of that all weekend. We never had that problem in the past, so I don't really know what that is.
That so often happens. The driver is the last to know. Well, there you're looking at the World Championship points leader and defending Spring Nationals Pro Stock champion. That is Butch Leal in his Trans Am. Originally from Northern California, Butch Leal now hails out of Blacklick, Ohio, and that's just a few miles from Columbus.
He faces Lee Dean from Northeast Maryland in his Trans Am. Dean has never won a Nationals event.
Now, these cars may not run 260, 270 miles per hour, but I believe, and a lot of people agree, they're among the toughest cars in all of drag racing to drive. Short wheelbase, the wheels are off the ground at the start, and it's a good start by both drivers. Butch Leal in the near lane, about a fender in front. He stretches that to a full car length, and the crowd loves it. The hometown boy, Butch Leal, 7.59 seconds.
Lee Dean almost coming around with a spin at the end of the run there. That's what pro stock racing is all about, though. Tight, close competition. Now here's Bruce Allen and Kenny Delco.
Kenny Delco had a brilliant drive in round number one. He hole-shotted his way past the always tough Don Kuntz to get to this point. Delco wheeling a Camaro out of New York State.
He will face Bruce Allen from Arlington, Texas in another Chevrolet Camaro. Allen beat Warren Johnson to move into the second round.
And, of course, Bruce Allen hoping to put Chevrolet back in the winner's circle. They did not win a single pro stock event all last season. They leave identically together. The same reaction time for both drivers. This is a race of raw power, and that belongs to the Reard Morrison team, as Bruce Allen is their first 763 to a very game 768 on the part of Kenny Delco.
Coming up next, seven-time world champion Bob Glidden versus Stan Mizell. Let's go to the far end now as Steve is with Bruce Allen. Steve?
Well, Bruce, that was a race of sheer horsepower. No advantage to either driver, and you just out-muscled him, a 763 to a 68.
Yeah, we're starting to come around a little bit. We've been having a little bit of troubles, but just feel like if we could get down the track, we could make a good run. It's just one of those situations where you get up there and do the best you can and see what happens. And in that particular run, we were even almost all the way down the track, and I pulled her over in high gear, and the sheer power of the Reard Morrison car just drove away from him.
Indeed it did. See you in the semis.
Thank you.
So Bruce Allen waits to see who he will face in the semifinal round. In the meantime, back at the starting line, Stan Mizell sits ready.
Stan Mizell is from Gainesville, Florida, Paul, and he made a tremendous leap just 2 years ago from stock eliminator to pro stock and has surprised a lot of people. He beat Nick Nicholas in the first round. There is the smiling face of the Hoosier, Bob Glidden. Of course, Bob, Etta and his boys running the consummate pro stock race team. Glidden in the near lane, it's a Glidden away first. Bob Glidden with a nice advantage right off the mark, but look at Mizell. He's not throwing in the towel. It is Bob Glidden all the way and very quickly. 752, 185 miles an hour to Stan Mizell, 765. So among the 4 cars remaining in pro stock, Bob Glidden has the only non-General Motors product. And here's how they'll set up. It will be Glidden. He has lane choice over the Chevrolet Camaro of Bruce Allen. And it will be Butch Leal from right here in the Columbus area in his Trans Am up against the Camaro from California of Jerry Ekman.
So the semifinal rounds in pro stock are now set. They're also preparing in the funny car pits for the semifinals in funny car. As Don